The Steelers are facing a real minefield in this final stretch of the season. Between injuries to key players like George Pickens and a brutal sequence of games against the Eagles, Ravens, and Chiefs, Pittsburgh is under intense pressure. And while head coach Mike Tomlin tries to keep the team afloat, a controversy involving the NFL schedule is already sparking heated debates. Do the Steelers have what it takes to overcome these challenges and secure their playoff spot? Don't miss any updates. Hit the like button and let's dive into the video. The Steelers are dealing with a concerning wave of injuries just days before their Week 15 matchup against the Eagles, and the news out of Pittsburgh is far from encouraging. Thursday's injury report brought updates that left fans even more anxious, with several key players sidelined. Starting with safety Deshaun Elliott, who has been nursing a hamstring issue since last week's win over the Browns. He missed Wednesday's practice and was out again on Thursday. Head coach Mike Tomlin mentioned earlier in the week that the injury occurred during the Cleveland game, but the lack of progress so far is a bad sign. There's still a chance Elliott could play, but it will depend on how he performs in Friday's practice and any official designation ahead of the game. The situation with wide receiver George Pickens is even more concerning. He also didn't practice on Thursday, lowering hopes of seeing him on the field Sunday. The 23-year-old, who has never missed a game since entering the NFL, already sat out the victory over the Browns after suffering an injury in last Thursday's practice. Reports from Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette indicate that Pickens sustained a grade 2 strain, and an MRI revealed the issue was more serious than expected. This makes it increasingly unlikely he'll suit up against the Eagles. Without Pickens, the Steelers will need to rely on Mike Williams, Scotty Miller, Calvin Austin III, and Van Jefferson to fill the void. There's also trouble on the defensive line. Larry Ogunjobi, dealing with a groin injury, missed practice for the second straight day. Meanwhile, Montravius Adams, who is on injured reserve with a knee issue, participated fully in practice for the fourth consecutive time. The 21-day window to activate him off IR is closing, and the Steelers have little time left to decide whether to place him back on the active roster. With so many uncertainties, Sunday's game is shaping up to be a true test of resilience for Pittsburgh. What do you think about George Pickens' situation and the injuries complicating the team? Share your thoughts in the comments. If this already seemed bad, wait until you hear about the insane stretch of games the Steelers have coming up. The Steelers are gearing up for a playoff run, but honestly, the NFL hasn't made it easy for them with this brutal stretch of games. But if they can overcome these challenges, it will be the ultimate proof that this team is ready to compete at the top of the AFC. The schedule has put Pittsburgh through a marathon. First, they face the Eagles in Week 15, then the Ravens immediately after, and they close out the 10-day period against the Chiefs on Christmas. That's right, 3 grueling games in an absurdly short time frame. Currently, the Steelers have a strong 10-3 record and lead the AFC North, but they're behind the Chiefs and Bills in the overall conference standings, sitting in 3rd place in the AFC. With this stretch of games, a lot could change in the standings, both in the division and the playoff race. During his appearance on the Pat McAfee Show, head coach Mike Tomlin was asked about this brutal schedule. McAfee didn't hold back in criticizing the league, suggesting that the NFL deliberately made life harder for Pittsburgh. Commissioner Goodell is trying to punish the Steel City, and I don't like it one bit, McAfee said bluntly. Tomlin, however, kept his usual composed demeanor, avoiding direct criticism but leaving a short and direct message. And please do a good job. It's clear that Tomlin isn't thrilled about this challenging final stretch. Beyond the difficulty of the opponents, all considered Super Bowl contenders, the short turnaround between games raises questions about the league's commitment to player safety. Each of these matchups promises to be highly physical and competitive, making this stretch even tougher for the team. Despite the difficulties, Tomlin isn't one to make excuses. It's safe to say he'll have the team ready to compete, but coming out of this period with 3 wins will be nearly impossible. There's even a real risk the Steelers could go winless during this stretch, especially with the recent news that George Pickens will be sidelined with a hamstring injury. Surviving these games without losing more players will be crucial, as the playoffs are just around the corner. But here's the thing. This stretch could also be a golden opportunity for the Steelers to define their destiny. If they can beat the Eagles on the road, they'll automatically secure a playoff spot. Another possibility would be relying on losses or ties by the Colts and Dolphins in Week 15. If Pittsburgh manages to get past Philadelphia with a win, the next step will be facing the Ravens in Baltimore. Beating their rivals for the second time this year would secure the division title and a home playoff game. And in the final leg of this stretch, defeating the Chiefs, who have just 1 loss this year, could put the Steelers in contention for the top seed in the AFC. It's difficult, but not impossible. With so much at stake, this is the time to prove this team belongs among the league's elite. Look, Steelers fans, it won't be easy. With an unfair schedule and so many injuries, each game feels like an impossible mission.